December's energetic forecast, looking at it through the lens of human design. In today's video, I'm breaking down all of the energies that we will be experiencing in December and how we get to practically navigate these different energies. I always say that you cannot ever control the weather, but it sure helps know when you need to pack an umbrella in if it does decide to rain. And that's essentially how I view the transits when it comes to human design. If you're new here, hi, my name is Kylie. I've facilitated over 500 human design readings and blend together 12 different modalities in order to bring highly complex subjects to you in a very simplified way so that you know exactly how you can manifest your dream life in a way that is tailored to how you are designed to be. Let's start with understanding what transits are. Transits are essentially looking at where planetary positions are every single day in order to read what energy is happening in the cosmic soup. Now, whether you have these gates defined or undefined in your chart, you will still be experiencing this energy. It's a collective field. And the energy that I will be breaking down in this video specifically looks at the sun's placements because the sun is bringing the main character energy for what we are experiencing. Now, of course, this can go far deeper, and there are videos in astrology that go into which planetary placements are bringing up which energies. But the reason why I wanted to specifically focus on the transits for December is because of this. We are coming to the end of 2025, which has been the year of the snake. It is also a number 9 year in numerology. And that means that this has been a year where we have probably all felt that we have gone through a massive death and rebirth cycle in some way or form. If you think about a snake is always shedding its skin. And that's what we're coming to the precipice of by the end of this year. And the end of this year really is asking us and calling us to think of any open loops that we may still have and start to close them out. And so if you have any energy leaks going into 2026, this is a month where I really want you and would encourage you to ask yourself very honest questions to close them out. Now, this is where we do deal with the realm of the shadow. And the shadow, when we understand how to work with the shadow and the different shadow frequencies that will be brought up over the next month, we have a more accurate way of dealing with life's challenges. For example, right now we're in gate 9's energy, and it's a gate where you can get so lost in the details that you don't know which step is the next step to take forward. And so many of my clients and friends and people that constantly ask me about what is happening in the cosmic soup are reaching out and expressing that they feel that way at the moment. They feel very overwhelmed by life, that we're coming to that end of the year. There is always that end of year hustle, energy, grind, where you might be feeling like there's so many projects that you need to finish off. It's coming to the end of the year. And so you might feel very overwhelmed and then need to dissect what you should be doing, but you might be feeling paralyzed. And so it's really interesting to start to understand the shadow frequencies of the energies that we will be experiencing. And that's my take on what I'll be bringing to you today, is understanding more the shadow energies, because with every shadow, there's always a gift. There's always lightness. And as I always say, you cannot know light without first knowing darkness. In order to understand temperature, we have to know both hot and cold. And so there's always a polar extremity to everything in our universe. That's the law of polarity. And by understanding the shadow frequencies that we are in at the moment, you will start to understand so many different parts of your life and have your metaphorical umbrella to navigate the celestial weather report with whatever the universe brings your way. Before I break down the dates and times of everything, please know that the dates and times that I am using are all based on the UK Standard Time Zone. And so if, for example, you're researching and you might see that actually for you it's changing on a different day, look at the timestamp. That's why I'm going to give timestamps and dates in accordance to the UK time in which the sun will be transiting into a new gate. We start with today, which is the 1st of December, all the way through until Wednesday, the 3rd of December, where we'll be going through Gate 9's energy until 7:19 a.m. on the 3rd of December. Gate 9 is a gate of focus. And the energy that you're going to be feeling this week is bigger picture thinking of what do you want to focus and concentrate on in order to help your own manifestations come to be, as well as collective things. Now, when we're focusing and we're concentrating on what we're wanting to bring forward, we'll have stillness within ourselves. However, we can get lost in the details. And this is where we start to see the shadow come up, which is inertia. And inertia is that state of being where you've overthought the details and you don't know which is the next step to take. And what I always say is that when it comes to manifestation, the how is not your job. That is where we need to leave the door open for the universe to bring in magic and miracles. And so if you're too caught up on how your manifestations will come into being, if you're too caught up on how things need to happen, you're not going to know which step is the next right step of action to take. And to overcome this, you'll need to really use your willpower. This is the only gate in the entire human design system that actually does rely on some form of willpower in order to gain momentum to move you forward. So if you're feeling very overwhelmed by your desires and where you're going, and then there's this end of year energy that's got that pressure on you of like, what is giving you life force energy? Because gate 9 sits in the sacral center. And so we're really being asked on what are the bigger things that we want to give life force energy to that will benefit yourself or the collective in a way that will really build that sense of determination. The energy is really asking you, what are you determined to do? And what is the capacity that you're prepared to expend on your manifestations? Very often people want it all, but won't actually take the necessary steps of action to get to where they're going. And so if you're stuck in paralysis and you're overthinking everything and you're lost in the details, the way you can get out of that is by going, what is the scariest thing that I know I get to do along this journey, but that I'm holding myself back on because insert your excuse here. And one of the things that I teach on is to turn your fear list into your to-do list. So a great step of action that you can take right now until Wednesday, the 3rd of December, is to write out everything that you're afraid of doing because you might fear rejection or being outcast or whatever the situation is. But write down your fear list of steps of action that you know you should be taking and that genuinely excite you to take, but you don't feel ready or capable or smart enough. Even doing this video feels out of my realm of capabilities because doing energy transits is still something that I'm fairly new to. But hey, here I am. I'm doing this energy transit just for you. And I know that in a year from now, I'm going to look back at this moment and go, well done, you did it, regardless of how nervous I was to do it. So if this is a sign that you needed, go out and do the things that you're scared of and just take one step of action. When you build up that resilience inside of you, you will move past inertia and into momentum. The next gate we'll be transiting into from Wednesday, the 3rd of December, all the way until Monday, the 8th of December, is gate 5. And we'll be in this energy until Monday, the 8th at 8:21 p.m. in the evening. Now, gate 5 is all about the natural rhythms in life, and it is called the gate of waiting. Now, what is waiting associated with? Waiting is associated with patience. And so this period of time is really asking you what your habits are. Now, what I find really interesting with the year of the snake and it being a number 9 year, everything is coming to a close. And so it's really going to be asking you, especially looking into 2026 and beyond, with us upgrading to becoming the new human that we're going to see from 2027, is that it's asking us, who are we going to become and what habits are we going to have as that new embodied self? And when it comes to gate 5, it's really about asking yourself, what do you have consistency with? Now, consistency is not about doing the exact same thing every single day. Consistency is about zooming out and looking at what you're consistently taking action on. And so let's use gym as the example here. I know that to work out, to train every muscle group, I wouldn't be doing the same workout every single day because then my body would know exactly what's coming and it wouldn't actually work different muscle groups and it wouldn't get my body into the shape that I would want it to be because it would be too monotonous. So consistency is not about monotony. Consistency is about zooming out and going, I'm going to focus on these pillars in my life. So maybe health is one of them, maybe business is another. For me, it's always health, business, and being a mom. And so every day I ask myself, how can I be the best parent? How can I get into a healthier version of myself? How can I make a sale? And those are the pillars in my life. But the actual steps of action might look different depending on what day it is. So Monday is going to be leg days. Wednesdays are going to be arms and abs. I'm not going to do the exact same workout every single day, but I am going to work out every single day. Can you see the difference in what consistency actually looks like? And so I want you to just think about the pillars of habits that you want to form during this period of time, especially as the embodied self who is that future version of you, because when we embody the future version of ourselves more and more, that's when we collapse the timelines. I'm going to quickly expand on that for a brief second here, because I think that this is really important. Right now, there is a version of you in multiple timelines across the timeline range that already has exactly what it is that you desire. And so I believe that when you get a desire placed on your heart, it is actually the future version of you guiding you towards your heart's desires and prayers. And in order to collapse the timelines, you have to be in the frequency of that future version of you. What is our frequency? It's our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, our behaviors, our intentions. And so the more you can be that version of yourself now, the more you are sending the frequency to the universe that it is already done. And when you aren't in lack of having what you want, that's when you're in abundance and the overflow. And that's how you collapse the timelines. So what are the habits that you're taking into 2026? And now is a great time to really consider that. What are you wanting to take with you? What has worked really well? December is also a time for me of great reflection and asking yourself honest questions of what has worked really well and what hasn't worked well are really great ways to start dissecting this. And then it's to understand patience, because from impatience, you'll become patient. And this is a way of thinking about manifestation. If you had to go and cook your Christmas turkey right now, you would know that it would probably take around an hour and a half, depending on the weight. But if you were in a rush, maybe you would try turning up the oven all the way to its fullest heat and then putting the turkey in, which would only result in the turkey coming out black as a crisp, undercooked, and it wouldn't have had the right amount of time to get to the desired result. And this is where patience with our manifestations and our habits really comes into play. Can you be patient with yourself, knowing that sometimes things just take time to cook? And consistency is what helps that cooking process. And so if you're wanting to become healthier than what you are now, and you know that you want to get 10,000 steps in a day, instead of going into the new year going, I am now going to take 10,000 steps every single day, and right now you're doing 1,000 steps a day, rather go, how can I start increasing this gradually so that you're not shocking your nervous system and you're having more patience with yourself? And you'll only start to understand this process when you have had moments of your habits and things not working out. And so having patience with yourself really is about waiting for your manifestations to cook at the right temperature in the right way so that you've got perfectly crispy skin on the outside and it's well cooked throughout the entire turkey. Now, the shadow of this is that you may fall victim to being impatient. And being impatient is when we start to rush the process. It's when we start to lose trust in our habits and our routines. But you know, if you've ever been on a health journey and you want to create a six pack, you're not going to do that after one sit up. And so, why would our manifestations come to us after getting into the frequency of what we desire in one day? It can happen, you can collapse time, but there's generally a cooking period. So, how can you always remind yourself that you need to be baked for the right amount of time? And just as it's getting to the hottest point, that's when everything's almost about to be done. So when you feel under pressure from the universe, how can you reframe it to going, I'm just about to come out the oven? Then from Monday, the 8th of December, we'll be moving into gate 26 energy. at 8:21 p.m. all the way through until Sunday, the 14th of December at 9:11 a.m. Now, gate 26 is the gate of the egoist, and it's such a fun gate to really understand because this gate is also very linked to integrity. Gate 26 is known as the gate of the salesman or the saleswoman because it is here to sell the collective a dream. And that needs to be done with great integrity because if you think of selling, you can either be invited into an experience that is really going to yield benefit for you, or you could be buying something because you have this fear that you're going to be missing out. But then that comes from tactics that could be manipulative or control. And so this is the time where the universe is really asking you, what are your dreams? And are you in integrity with them? So on one end of the spectrum, you could see a lot of manipulation come up during this period of time, or a lot of people even boasting about what they've achieved throughout the year. And I know that there is a lot of social media content about to come out around what people have achieved or not achieved and things like that. But when it comes to reflecting on your year specifically, I want you to do it from a place of genuine integrity for yourself. When manipulation comes up as a shadow, it often illuminates where we're trying to manipulate ourselves. And even something as subtle as I'm eating this way in order to transform my body could be met with a secondary agenda, which is I'm eating like this so that my body will transform. And that could be a control mechanism. Now, yes, we absolutely want to be in the healthiest version of ourselves. So I want to give you a nuance to that. Imagine eating in a way that nourishes your body in order to gently move home to being the healthiest version of yourself, as opposed to expecting your body to shape shift because you're eating or working out in a certain way. And so it's to let go of control and to see how you could be doing the dance with manipulation for yourself or for others. And even if you're giving freely of yourself, but you're expecting something in return, then you've lost the integrity behind the giving. And December really is that season of giving. So how can you give freely of yourself without expecting anything in return? And that goes into the law of compensation, which states that when you give freely and you don't expect anything in return, that is when the universe will reward you abundantly. So this is where I really want you to think of what is integrity to you during this time, and can you really sit with where are you in integrity specifically with your financial needs, and where can I let go of needing to be validated and just receive that validation from within. This gate sits in our ego center, and that is where we try to prove ourselves. And so if you're trying to prove yourself, you're again manipulating situations to take control of it. And that control is how other people view you. When you know you are enough, you don't need to prove it. You just are it. So that's something I want you to contemplate during this period of time. From Sunday, the 14th of December, all the way through till Friday, the 19th of December, the sun will then be transiting gate 11, which is the gate of ideas. And the gate of ideas lives in the Ajna Center, which is all about belief systems and how we take ideas and transform them into data in order to be processed. And so this is a time where you will probably be downloading so many different ideas. And it's really important to understand where your beliefs lie. So often, whenever we get an idea, we immediately start to feel resistance to that because we insert a narrative around ourselves that isn't true. For example, if you're maybe somebody that wants to start your own YouTube channel or a podcast, you may go, oh, I really want to do that, but I'm not smart enough, capable enough, etc. And you list out all the stories and the reasons as to why you believe you can't. Those are beliefs, and beliefs can be changed. And so if you do genuinely feel that you don't have the capabilities, for example, if you are not somebody that has come from a medical background, you cannot just waltz into a surgery operating theater going, I'm going to conduct the surgery now. Of course, there are certain capabilities and skills that are required to do certain things. But I want you to deeply know this. Even though you might require certain capabilities and skill sets, I believe, and the universe believes, and so should you believe, that you are more than capable of attaining those skills in order to live out whatever dream is required. And so when ideas come up, ask yourself, is there really truth in this? So for example, if you're wanting to be a medical student and perform surgeries, and right now you need to get into medicine, then that is something that you need to then work on as your next step of, this is an idea that's come to me, this is where I need to go, and manifest that next step. It's really, this time really is to just really dream bigger, especially about where you want to go in 2026, because 2026 is the year of the horse. We are going and we're riding to a new beginning. It's a year one. And as excited as I am for 2026, without being a doomsday prepper, I do believe that we're not through all of the challenges that the universe requires us to pass to hold a new future and be a certain way to bring in new consciousness. And so I don't believe that 2026 is going to be void of challenges. In fact, I don't believe life will ever be void of challenges. And so when these challenges come up, you're really required to understand the grit that you have. And we gain grit by observing our belief structures on what we believe about ourselves, and then pushing past them and letting go of that resistance to do it anyway. And that's honestly how we actually start to reprogram our nervous system, is to take action on the things that we thought would make us die, because that's how our subconscious mind sees everything. It sees everything in black and white. And so if you're really scared to do public speaking, it will believe that you're going to die doing public speaking. That's how your subconscious mind views that. But the moment you start off doing something small, like maybe you're standing up and talking to 3 people, your subconscious mind goes, oh, I didn't die. And your energy expands. So you start to expand your capacity. And when ideas come in, you're going to start to expand your imagination capacity. And when we start to expand our imagination, we might be able to visualize the most incredible future. But with the future comes a sense of uncertainty. And so when we grasp onto that fear of uncertainty, that's when we're met with anxiety and fear. Observe it, because when we can observe and become aware of what it is that we're specifically fearing, that's when we can transmute the fear, the anxiety, the worry into something that we can actually take action on. And so ideas are not meant to just live in the realm of ideas. We need to bring them down into our body, then use your human design authority to know which decision to make, which ideas are yours to act on. And then when you know it's yours to move and move quickly, because otherwise that idea is going to jump to somebody else and knock on their mind. From Friday the 19th at 9:49 p.m., we are then going to start transiting through gate 10's energy all the way through to Christmas morning, Thursday, the 25th of December at 19 minutes past 10 in the morning. For me, this is super interesting because gate 10 is the gate of self-love. Now, so often we don't really get what self-love is. And so I want to start with describing the difference between self-love and self-care. Self-care is when you're going to the spa, you're getting your nails done, you're doing things for yourself. That is all acts of service to yourself. And while absolutely I celebrate self-care is great, it's not self-love. Self-love is when you go, I've got all of these different parts of me that make me, and I love all of them. I love my darkness. I love my light. I own my light. I integrate my darkness. I am me. When you can embrace all of you and you can express that, that is actually what authenticity is. I think so often people think that authenticity is being the version that is the good person or the nice person, but actually authenticity is going, I've got these flaws, I've got these vulnerabilities, I've got all of this, and I love it regardless, unconditionally. And that's when we move into self-love, when you can see all parts of you and hold yourself to different standards and higher standards, but to also hold yourself through grace through that whole process. Because so often when we do find a part of ourselves that is darker in nature, we tend to try and shame ourselves out of that. And so if, for example, you know that you self-sabotage yourself by scrolling on your phone, going, oh, you're such an idiot, you should have known better, like get off your phone, that's probably not going to change the habit. Whereas if you had to go and sit and go, okay, what is it that I'm afraid of here? Well, if I get off my phone and I actually go live my dreams and become successful, then I'm going to have to take on this responsibility. And I believe that I might lose these people. Well, is there truth to that? And then you've got better questions to start navigating and asking yourself. And that's how you'll start moving out of self-sabotaging behavior, and not by just blaming and shaming yourself even more, because that just perpetuates the behavior. And so during this time leading up to Christmas, I know that for so many people, Christmas time can be a deeply challenging time because you're expected to be around family and there's different commitments and all of those things. And so use this time wisely. This is the season of us integrating our shadows deeper. And every time you are triggered by somebody else, it's because there's an unhealed part of you that resides within you that's bringing this into your life. And so take this time to really sit with yourself and list out the things that you really truly love about yourself. And then also list out the things that you believe you don't love about yourself. And this is the single greatest question to ask when doing this type of shadow work is, what has this part of me that I don't love? What is the greatest gift it's given me? And when you can find the gift in the shadow, that's again when you'll be like, oh, wow, I always thought I was an insecure person. But if we break down the word insecure, it means in security, in safety. And so I was just finding ways to protect myself. And I really am so grateful and thankful that I have that part of me that is insecure because she's given me protection. But now how can I rewrite how insecurity actually looks for me? What would safety look like in this situation? How could I dissolve the jealousy and the envy and things like that? Because maybe those are the behavior traits that are coming out from insecurity. And then having that awareness when jealousy does arrive, let's go, oh, hang on. This is the moment where jealousy arrives, and then I generally lash out, but it's just because there's parts that I'm denying about myself. And when you can truly start to go back to this question, which is, what would the version of me who loves me do? That's when you start to really move into a lot more love and deep gratitude for yourself. The next gate we're transiting to is gate 58, which we transit on Christmas Day. And I love this because gate 58 is a gate of joy. And so we really get to ask on Christmas, what is the gift of things that will make us feel joyful? And truth be told, it's never about the end destination of achieving the manifestations that we want. It's about the journey that we go on. And when we can bring so much more joy into that experience, that is when our manifestations come to us quicker. So on Christmas Day, I want you to ask yourself, how can I bring joy into my life? And what's really beautiful is that we have that week of quiet and stillness between Christmas and New Year, where you get to really deeply reflect and keep asking yourself, well, what would bring me more joy in every area of my life? And when you can find joy in even the challenges that you might be experiencing, that is when gratitude takes on a whole new meaning. I don't believe that we should just be practicing gratitude for the things that we have in our lives. Of course, practice gratitude for that because it keeps that momentum of gratitude building. But gratitude should be practiced in the moments where we're feeling so deeply challenged, because that is when our frequency is often in lack, in scarcity, in anxiety, in fear, in all of those lower vibrational emotions, shame, guilt, all of those things. But when you can sit in that and go, well, what is this teaching me? What is the greatest gift that I'm giving myself here by sitting in this discomfort? That is when you can start to go, well, this is a gift, and you can start to bring more joy into the process. I, again, don't believe that life will ever be void of challenge. But when you can ask yourself, how could I make this situation more fun? That is when you start to open up your mind to different possibilities. Just recently, actually, I had a situation where I was super grumpy. My son had been booked off of school, and I had some really important meetings and coaching sessions to do that week. And I was feeling really grumpy, and I allowed myself to feel those feelings because I needed to validate myself. And then I said to myself, well, what would make this experience super fun? And we went to the beach and watched the most incredible sunset, and we splashed in puddles, and we just had so much fun. Myself and my two boys had so much fun that week that it made that whole situation so much better and so much easier than I thought it would be. And new solutions came to me where I'd actually received extra help that I wasn't expecting to receive. And so the whole thing just fell into place. And it was just from allowing myself to witness where the challenge was, going, okay, this is challenging, this really sucks, but how could I then reframe to making this situation more joyful? Quite. And the moment you ask yourself, how can I make this easier, more joyful, more fun? You're going to see that self-talk yielding different results to your autopilot functioning, which will get you the same results. From the 25th all the way through until the 30th, we'll be in gate 58 energy. And then Dun dun dun. We are ending the year off in gate 38's energy, which is the gate of the fighter. And this is where we're deeply sitting in what is worth struggling and fighting for. The shadow of this gate is struggle, but through struggle, we find perseverance. And so we're ending off this year asking ourselves some very big questions going into 2026, which is, what am I prepared to struggle in and persevere through? And I believe that you're going to find a lot of clarity in this question because, again, you're asking, well, what am I prepared to do and what is the capacity that I have? For example, growing a business is not an easy task, right? There are many steps of action that you have to take. And there have been many times in my business where I've had to ask, well, what is my capacity right now? Because when I just become a mom and I was healing postpartum, those are very valid reasons as to why I didn't want to be on my laptop 24/7 or doing 10 coaching sessions a day. I wanted to spend time with my newborn babies. And so I had to ask myself, well, what is the capacity that I have right now to build my business? And am I okay then to have these kinds of results? And so it's always to leave a door open for magic and miracles to find you. But you have to go, what is valid in my life right now? Not an excuse and not a reason, because those are just beliefs generally that can be rewritten. But what is valid in my life right now? And what am I willing to do and what am I prepared to do to get to my dream life? And when you sit with that over the new year, you're going to find ways that will come to you that will show you just how much perseverance you have. And I would also then just say, do things on New Year's Eve to show that how resilient you are and how much resilience you've gained throughout this year. I know that for a lot of people, and maybe not you, but maybe you, this year has been a year where it's felt deeply challenging in terms of how you view yourself. We have been going through that death and rebirth process, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video. We have been cracked open because if we're not cracked open, then we cannot evolve into who we are meant to be. And so if you're feeling really deeply challenged right now, just know that the universe is shattering everything to make it all fall back into a new divine way that is going to yield you different results. Let me know which energy you are most excited to explore over this December and enjoy my next video, which shows you how I went from being a postpartum hot mess to thriving using human design.